pharmaceutical company Prevacus says their new concussion medication Prevacol helps repair nerves and promote cell growth.
We can get the drug in the brain in less than 5 minutes. And our plan is when we get that diagnosis on the field of play, give the drug nasally, get it in the brain quickly. When it gets in the brain, it actually gets into the nucleus of your brain cells, and it reduces swelling, inflammation, and oxidative stress at the same time.
When Jake and I first talked about this many years ago, one of my first questions was, will this help me? And he goes, no, this is for treatment immediately when a concussion or you think a concussion has occurred.
Yeah.
The acute problems that exist later on in life, if we can take care of these at an early age and start getting some of these things to our children and grandchildren, and I think we can make this game, our game, football, a safer place.
And so the whole goal is we're trying to make the game safer. And so Odyssey and this drug, we believe, can be a game changer in so many different ways. Yes, on the football field, in the game of football, because that's where my passion lies, but also in the game of life.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Play Like a Girl. I'm your host, Gianna Cambria, as always, and like promised, I have another amazing guest. She is actually one of my former teammates and the founder of Rem & Company, so let's have a warm welcome to Cameron O'Keery.
Hey, Gianna. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. I'm so excited that you're here. So I just wanted to kick things off and ask you my first question, which is, how did your personal achievements with your former athletic career lead you into the successful woman who's here speaking to me right now?
One, thanks for the kind words, Gianna. But I think even kind of going back, definitely for those of you that don't know, as Gianna mentioned briefly, we skated on the same synchronized ice skating team for many years. And I think those experiences really just taught me a lot about discipline and actually hard work and stress. So to be honest, when I do a lot of different things, even if it's in the business world, it doesn't seem that crazy compared to the kind of things that we were, whether it's getting up at the crack of dawn to be having so many different lessons, or just the determination it kind of takes to go through all those different tests and constantly be competing at such a competitive level. So many other things kind of seem like a piece of cake.
Yes, exactly. So leading off of that, would you say that being a former athlete has helped you gain your confidence in business? Or because I know you did study leadership and obviously you are a leader right now. So did the two intertwine at all, or did you gain confidence from other things as well?
I think definitely gaining confidence along the way, but I think more than anything else, what for me has made me, I think, a good leader has kind of been actually being on those teams. And it started off so young. And I think it's not only just the coach that's empowering you, but it's the people that kind of step up and empower your teammates, the people around you. So I think definitely even for me as a leader right now, it's definitely one of those things where you don't need to be the loudest person in the room. It's how do you empower others? How do you encourage other people to use their voice? And I feel like that is something that I definitely learned early on, making sure that everyone knows like how not only, wanted they are, but really needed they are, especially in a business setting. And that's something that I learned through synchro, through ice skating, etc. We have, whether it's 24 girls on the ice and only 16 are skating, those other alternates are so important. Everyone has a role to play, even if it's just, being the friendly, smiley face on the sideline. So definitely empowering people, I think, is one of the biggest things I've learned.
Yes. So obviously I agree with 100% of the words you're saying. And my guests in these podcasts that I've had prior have all agreed that being an athlete is so worth it because you learn so much more from it. You learn more than just being athletic. You learn what you just described.
100%. I also think there's so many different challenges where it constantly makes me kind of think back and really know that there's something inside you that is like pushing you. It's the kind of thing where you're up all night finishing a presentation deck or other things, and like, even though you're giving 99%, there's still that 1% that like you definitely have, and being able to drive that home is something that I definitely learned just from being an athlete. And I feel like in so many different ways, whether it was when I was skating or throughout college, I minored in modern dance as well, and was constantly being able to kind of think like, how do we go back to the fundamentals, realizing that so many things that I kind of do now wouldn't be possible if I didn't have the discipline, I didn't have the determination, and I also probably wouldn't be able to kind of manage the pressure of running a business if I hadn't been in such like high pressure situations, and definitely skating was one of those.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely it makes you a better person in the end.
Definitely.
So many people would describe an activist as someone who works to change the community that they're surrounded by, aiming to make it a better place. So how would you say that you've done this prior to your successes with Rum & Company?
So for me, I think, to be honest, I was always looking for different ways to help my community. So I went to WashU in St. Louis, and during, I think, my like junior and senior year, we had a huge issue with like campus safety and students that were really wealthy walking home with their iPads, their MacBooks, etc., being completely just robbed. It was an absolute disaster. For me, I saw that and I realized like, oh wait, there's like something that we really need to do about that. And I built a digital solution to help people not be robbed, or even once they have been, how to actually like seek help, especially when, your phone has been taken away, your wallet's been taken away, and we're so reliant on calling Ubers and doing other things. It was one of those things where even looking back, it's like, wait, there's a problem. How do we figure out how we can go and create a solution? Another issue, even with like homelessness as well in St. Louis, I was kind of figuring out with so many different people now not having cash on them, how can we make sure if we want to donate to the homeless, there's ways where it makes it really safe and people feel really secure donating. So I think definitely, even for me, my background, whether it's in like design thinking or a few other things, it constantly makes me look for different issues in our community and different ways we can kind of go about finding them.
Yeah. Honestly, good for you for doing all of that, because there's so many people who just walk past those problems and they're just like, oh, well, there's nothing I can do. And you're the one that's actually doing the problem solving and helping out the world.
And also, even if it's things where you're not that interested in it, it's one of those things where there's so many people that can benefit. It then gets you so excited. Even at Rum & Company, we do so much work with small businesses, and never did I thought like my whole life would be around small businesses, or that I'd be really passionate about it. But now that's, to be honest, all I can talk about, just because I've seen the lives that it's actually impacted.
So this leads me into my next question, which is for everybody out there who doesn't exactly know what Rum & Company is, can you explain to us what it is and how you originally came up with the idea to create it? I know you kind of mentioned it, but...
Sure. So Rum & Company started off really just as a social impact initiative, helping small businesses navigate the pandemic. And over the course of the last year, we've grown into a really large organization. Right now, we have over 600 different people involved, and we've been able to help hundreds of businesses directly through our consulting services and thousands through the digital resources that we're publishing every day. It's really been an exciting opportunity just because one, so many businesses were really struggling, and it was a time where so many young professionals had been laid off from jobs, or internships had been canceled, or jobs had been postponed, and people needed something to do. After watching like your first few seasons of Netflix, it's like, what can I do? I need to do something. And we realized there was a really interesting opportunity for one, small business owners to get the help that they desperately needed, but also for amazing, really talented people who were sitting at home, had extra time on their hands, to kind of come and step up and donate their time to their community. So we started, and it's been kind of amazing. We've just had an influx of so many different professionals, whether it's students that want to get involved to executives, and we've had amazing people from all kinds of different companies, whether it's through banking, and we have the Goldmans, the JP Morgans, through tech, and we have things like Google, Amazon, etc. So many different people from amazing companies have worked to donate their time and share just like their plethora of knowledge that they have with a lot of these small business owners that really wouldn't have access to these resources otherwise.
That is amazing. For starters, one, I saw on your website that you said you started with 1 and you told us that you were at 600 now, which is crazy in such a short amount of time. And 2, it's still hard for students. I am a student, you were. It was still so hard for us to find internships or jobs because so many people aren't taking new in-person client, whatever. Or all my internships have been virtual. I still have like maybe a little bit from college, but I have almost no in-person experience, which sucks.
I definitely hear you, and something that right now we have an intern class of about 50 at Roman Company. And I kind of always tell them it's not only just like the experience that you have, whether it's the remote or in person, and it's not even the role you have, it's kind of what you carve out for yourself. Mm-hmm. So being the person that no matter what call you're on, you're the first person to raise your hand. It's like, how can I help? How can I learn more? I think definitely for any of the students that are out there, kind of figuring out how you create a role for yourself where you become so just like unreplaceable, just because people are looking for those really passionate, really determined people that are just as invested in their business as they are.
Yes. I will definitely take that advice with me in the future as I go on many interviews after college. So I know that this company is all about helping small businesses, and I was just wondering if you personally know a small business owner who foreclosed due to the pandemic, and if you do, what happened, and can you just explain it to us?
So I think so many different things that we're seeing across the board, and right now we're working with a variety of different businesses across the United States and Canada. A huge thing has really been people don't have the support. It's one of those times where so many people have had to lay off their employees, and employees are a really good sounding board on even just like how do we make strategic decisions. They really don't have that many people that they can rely on for business help or even just running things by them. So it becomes something that's like super, super, super challenging. So within all of that, we've really seen a lot of businesses not having the safe capital to actually, persevere throughout this pandemic. A lot of times as well, a huge thing we've been seeing is just not the skills to digitally transform. So things like navigating TikTok, running Instagram ads, managing Facebook, SEO, things that, we were kind of raised knowing, doing, et cetera. A lot of the business owners that we're working with are okay boomers, for lack of a better term, that really don't know what's going on. And the worst part about this is a lot of the issues that they were kind of struggling with aren't new issues. So the thing about the pandemic is it really just exacerbated a lot of the issues that we've already seen. So example, a pizza shop down the road, you've been there 1,000 times. They're the only pizza shop probably in your neighborhood. Ever since you got your first phone, their number has been in your phone. There's no reason for them to, or they think there's no reason for them to have a website, do anything else, just because their customers know what they're ordering and they know how to reach them. And then something like the pandemic hits and it's a whole different issue. People are struggling, and not only do they realize like, oh wait, we need to be marketing, getting into the faces of all of our different consumers, or even just attracting new ones. And that's been the biggest thing of so many people are just so fine with having, okay, we have our normal, few thousand customers and that's it. And it's like, well, you could be reaching so much more if you actually knew how to digitally market. So a lot of the work we end up doing at Remlin Company is all about digitally transforming and teaching a lot of our small business owners actually how to interact and how to kind of navigate a lot of the business strategies that are more modern.
Yeah, and I bet through all of that, you've impacted so many small businesses, and I bet they're so thankful for the things that you guys have done in this short amount of time.
They're definitely excited. I think the best calls are the ones where we have people that are so just thankful that people have spent the time to work on their business. A lot of times I always say, like, scaling a business is a lot like raising a child. It really takes a village, and people want to know that they're supported. They want to know that there are people there that are actually working around the clock and donating times out of their busy schedule to actually being able to show up, especially just during some of these really hard times.
Yeah. And they want to know that there's somebody there who is confident in what they can do to change and who's reliable, because a lot of the times people are nervous about that, but you guys have that down packed. So when I was looking on your website before, it said that your impact is to keep doors open and dreams alive. Can you explain to us, has any of the small business owners that you've helped come up to you and said, you did this to the point, period, and it's helped me so much?
I think, to be honest, the majority of our small business owners really would say that, just because a little bit about how Rem & Company works is a small business is either nominated for our services or they apply themselves. And it's a really exciting time just because then they get a business or they get a team, built for their specific needs. So if we have someone who's saying, I'm struggling with marketing, I can't manage my budget, I need help with social media, we're gonna then build a team that's basically, we have a marketing professional, social media, finance expert, etc. So it's very much all the different issues that their business is addressing. We're building a really specific team for them. And they work with us over the course of 6 to 8 weeks, and we work in design sprints. So every week we're focusing on something else. We're learning a little bit about what works, what doesn't work, going back to the small business owner and figuring out, okay, is this going to work with your business? How can we test this out? What are the customers saying? How can we make this better? And we keep going week after week. So I think the amazing thing about this is we're not just saying, oh, hi, here are some tips and tricks. It's very much, we're building a relationship with you. And for many of our businesses, it's a lifelong relationship. They're coming back to us semester after semester. For our students that really work with nonprofits, or for some of our larger clients, every time that we have a new cohort with professionals as well.
Yeah, so I know that you just mentioned your students that you have, and I know you guys offer something called Rem on Campus for the college students. Can you tell us a bit more about the opportunities that you have to offer for them?
Yes, 100%. Rem on Campus is, to be honest, my favorite thing to talk about, just because when the pandemic first hit, we had so many different students writing in about, we have time, our internships are canceled, we want to help, etc. And they were the most passionate, they were the most excited. Also with Gen Z, you can just kind of see the energy of, we want to change it, and we want it and changed yesterday. People are so excited about it. So then after our first summer, things were kind of coming to an end and no one wanted to leave. They're like, we want to create a system where we can actually do this in the semester, how we can help continue helping small businesses, nonprofits, etc. And that's really how Rem on Campus was born. So we started off, I believe, with around 6 chapters last September, and now we have over 15 chapters. Wow. And we're going to be growing really quickly, hopefully trying to double that number come this September. It's been really exciting just because we've seen the talent that people actually have and the drive to be really involved in their communities. So Rem on Campus is an amazing program where students get to really help the businesses in their area. So example, our Vanderbilt chapter, they help businesses in Nashville, and especially over the last year, whether I believe it was a tornado, and there was also like a Christmas Day bombing, if I'm not mistaken. They were able to go directly to the businesses that had really been hit, and we do a lot of work to make sure our impact is intentional. So going out and mapping those cities and being able to kind of say, wait, what are the exact places that have been really hit? How can we go and make sure that we're helping the businesses that really have been impacted the hardest throughout this? And it was kind of really exciting, especially within that chapter, to see the students rally together and say, we're going out, we're city mapping, we're making sure all the businesses know that this is a service, a free service that is completely available to them. That's kind of just one example. Every chapter is a little bit different, and also is really focused about the things our students want to learn. So we have some places, example, our Stanford chapter, the students are really excited about tech, product design, etc. Everyone wants to be building apps. The solution for any client is like, let us build an app, let's figure out how to do it. We have other schools where it's much more finance focused and everyone wants to be building models. We also have schools where it's much more art focused and people are saying, we want to design all your assets, we want to rebrand you, we want to do all those other things. So it's really cool that no matter what your interest is, there's kind of a place for you at REM. We have tons of different students, whether it's pre-med, pre-law. We kind of put all of those different things aside and kind of say, we're just looking for problem solvers. Yeah. So at the end of the day, if that means you're able to save someone's life, or you're able to, negotiate some crazy contract, that's problem solving. You have to start somewhere. And Redmond Company is a great place to start, if I don't say so myself.
What a fantastic opportunity for students, though. And I know that everybody's like so ready to get engaged and to help hands-on, and those 600 plus people that you guys have built to your team definitely seem like they are willing to make a difference, which is a fantastic attribute for a team.
Definitely. I think it goes back just to one, setting core values. When we first kind of went and built Redmond Company, it was one of those things where we kind of realized there needed to be things that all of us really cared about, and also things that we were really going to be able to hold ourselves accountable for. So no matter who you are in the organization, I think people probably get annoyed about how much I talk about our culture and the impact we have on really being present in building it, but making sure, especially because everyone is a volunteer, we're all here for the right reasons. And a lot of times it's those core values. So for us, a huge one is empathy, us being able to actually just meet our small business owners where they are. Oftentimes, especially when you have a limited time, it's easy to hop on the phone and be like, bang, 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 let's just get to the point of this, in and out. But for us, it's really different. We want to get to know our business owners. We want to get to know their families, their employees, what makes them click, what makes their business so special, et cetera. And then be able to kind of say, now that we know you, we know the inner workings of your business, let's now start focusing on navigating everything else. Just because it's a really challenging time. There's so much craziness that's going on. And not only do you need to be someone who's solving problems, but you need to be a sounding board, a friend, at times even just like a shoulder to cry on. It's just really important.
Yeah. And especially during the pandemic, there's so many times where people felt like they hit rock bottom and they just needed somebody to be there and somebody to pick up those pieces. And that is exactly what you guys have been doing.
Definitely.
So I know during the pandemic, a lot of companies obviously were at a downfall. A lot of people were giving up because they thought the world wouldn't get better. So I was just wondering if your company came across any personal struggles during this time. And if you guys did, how did you strive through them?
I think for us, it was really more just about helping others than ourselves. I think also our initiative kind of focuses a little bit differently, just because a lot of it isn't about our own personal growth. It's really about how we help so many different businesses. So for us, it's never like, how can we go and make so many different chapters? It's like the students are coming to us and saying they're really interested, and we then have to kind of grow in result of it. So I think oftentimes for us, it hasn't really been our internal strategy. It's in much more the external strategy of how do we help the businesses, how do we create really great relationships, and also how do we stick back to our mission. So everything we really are trying to do is about supporting and scaling small businesses and going back to what you said before about keeping doors open and dreams alive. Every single thing that we do, example, when we launched Dreamcatcher, which is our COVID resource, and now just informational hub for small businesses, it was very much because there were so many businesses that wanted to work with us one-on-one through our consulting services, and we didn't have the capacity to actually do that. So for us to kind of say, oh wait, we have all this knowledge and we can't work with every business in this team really intimate setting, let's figure out how we mass produce information. We were able to go and then do that. So I think definitely in the last year, a huge thing has kind of just been being flexible and being adaptable, just because you never kind of know what's going on. And especially for us, we were dealing with across the US and Canada, a variety of different regulations, and not only federal regulations. It's also been a long day of talking on the phone, so excuse me. But also the statewide regulations of when people were opening, different capacity limits. It was kind of crazy just to be able to keep track of all of that. Yeah. So definitely tons and tons and tons of different challenges that pop up for us as an organization, and even just managing that, being able to scale so quickly. I know you mentioned before that my major was in like leadership and strategic management, and normally even when you graduate, there's no place we're going to go and be managing 100 people and then eventually 600 people. It's kind of crazy how quickly we were able to scale. So for us, I think it was a lot about one, surrounding ourselves with really great people, the same way how we kind of talk about ice skating, other things, teammates, people you can really count on. It was super important in the early days of Rem and Company, figuring out who we're surrounding ourselves with, who are going to be the people at the end of the day, are going to show up, are going to help you. It was really important.
Yeah, for sure. And those are the people that you need to be surrounded by for the rest of your life.
Definitely.
So to who would you say that you attribute your successes?
I think a lot of it is really putting the hard work in. I think there's so many different things that really help you, whether it's your family and friends that cheer you on, drive you to every practice, pay for your education, etc. But I think also at the end of the day, a lot of it is really internal, and being someone that knows at the end of the day, especially as a founder myself, I'm the only one that's gonna really get it done. So if it has to be done, I can't really rely on that many other people, even though we have an amazing team, etc. But even for me, I always tell my team, like, probably one of my strengths is in actually doing the consulting, communicating with the clients, being on the ground and doing the day-to-day work. But so many times I'm running HR, I'm on the phone with clients, I'm doing 1,000 other things that are just more operational. And it's kind of knowing, like, you have to be able to motivate yourself, get up at the crack of dawn every day, hold yourself accountable, and also manage the experience, especially when you have so many different people that are volunteers. At any moment, they could walk away and say, this is not for me, I've had enough, etc. So kind of figuring out what motivates people, what motivates yourself, I think is definitely something that is really important. So to answer your question, I think definitely so much support, but also at the end of the day, it also is yourself and putting the work in.
Yeah. I also agree. I did say this in a previous podcast, but in your life, you're truly the only person who's going to be there for yourself forever. So you're the one that's waking yourself up at 6 a.m. to go to that practice, or to go to the gym, or to make that phone call to your clients. You're the one who is putting yourself to sleep. You're the one who's there for yourself when you're having those tough days. So in the end, you have to really rely on yourself, but believe in yourself at the same time.
Definitely.
So what would you say is your favorite memory from Rem and Company so far?
So I always kind of talk about my proudest moment. It's through Rem on campus for sure, just because we've had so many people that have been with us really through the start, and we've seen them kind of come in, whether it's as like junior strategists or analysts, literally so young, so we don't even know what consulting is, and being able to kind of go through our program and be trained and be able to, whether it's through months or through years, really be able to go and kill it on a client call. So they may start off as just the person that's like note taking, etc., and then actually being the one that can go and lead it, especially for some of our nonprofits. And it was a really hectic time. We had one of our professional team leads have some personal issues and drop out, and it was at the end of our kind of like recruiting cycle. So it was kind of crazy about like what is going to happen next, who's going to kind of take this role. There was a lot of talk, and at the end of the day, I was like, okay, so I'm going to have to do this role. And I love working with all of our different small businesses, but doing that client call and managing everyone else was going to be a really hectic situation. So one of our teammates from Rem on campus was just like, I'm going to come in. I have the skills to do it. I'm excited to do it. I want to go and kind of like show you what's even possible. I'm like, okay, we'll co-lead it. I'm gonna be there. We're gonna see what's going on. Make sure it's as it's supposed to be. And it was one of those amazing things, because when we got on the call, it was the exact same training. It was like a copy and paste of everything that we had kind of taught them. And it was one of the proudest moments, just because people felt empowered to kind of say, oh, wait, I can actually do this. And that's not something that everyone kind of starts with as well, especially when you have no idea what the industry you're going into, or even that you could be a leader. And we've just seen this person go and dominate in every single aspect of the client calls, empowering your teammates, actually producing the deliverables and showing up for that client at the end of the 6 to 8 weeks. And now they lead one of our Rem on campus chapters, and it's kind of crazy because they come back and they're like, I just stumbled upon this on LinkedIn. I didn't even know what consulting is, and now it's what I live and breathe. And she just came back to speak to a few of our interns for this summer, and it was crazy just the amount of change a year and a few months have actually had.
That is such an empowering story, though, because I love where you learn about somebody and they make their way from the bottom and they just strive all the way to the top. That is so inspirational. So can you tell us a bit about your former experience with MasterCard, the Wall Street Journal, Bumble, and Valentino? How did your time with these companies shape you into the woman you've grown into, but also helping you with Rem & Company?
Sure. I feel like I take a little piece from every different company that I've worked for, just because all of them are so different. So we have luxury fashion, we have tech, we have payments, we have news and media, we have so many different things. And I feel like even for me, I really loved having more of an unconventional background, just because it made it really easy to jump around. So even when I was starting Rem & Company, it was like, oh, it's something new. Let's kind of figure it out as we go along. But definitely working at a lot of those companies, I think the biggest takeaway was the resources, the access to talent, et cetera, that they really had. And when you see small businesses, you see that they have the exact opposite. No one's graduating from an Unreal school and saying, oh yeah, I'm going to work at the mom and pop shop down the road. Everyone wants to go to the Googles, to the Goldmans, to everything that kind of looks flashy. So for me, I think a huge thing was kind of seeing how those different businesses operated. So not only just the role that I had there, but what can we kind of learn from the different leadership and how people lead, especially at a variety of different companies. There was constantly a global perspective. So for us, I think especially in the next few months, we really want to be going and looking at different markets, foreign markets specifically, on how we can go and really make an impact. So for us, we always talk about, we want our impact to be intentional, but we're seeing that if we just look to the West, we're not actually going to be able to do that. We're seeing what's going on in India, what's going on in Latin America, so many of these different places where they're not as far as we are with COVID vaccinations, COVID protocols, et cetera. We want to be able to really go into some of these different countries and kind of say, we want to help your small businesses. We want to figure out what's the best way to do it, whether it's recruiting different consultants that speak, the language, et cetera. All of those things, I think, are things that I learned, especially from working in global companies. MasterCard, I think, being one of the ones that really fueled that global perspective. I love kind of speaking about, because I think it was an amazing opportunity just to kind of learn a little bit more about design. When people kind of come to me and talk about Rem & Company, there's like two things where everyone's like, my family owns a small business, or they're like, the website was so beautiful, I just loved it and I wanted to apply. So being able to kind of understand that even within digital marketing, et cetera, brand building a community is something that's so important, and that kind of like cult-like following, which a lot of people who are either customers, et cetera, of some of those luxury brands definitely have. It was one of those things where I was on the visual communications team. We were constantly making sure the store was perfect, whether it was like visual displays, events, etc. I think it caused a lot of just like attention to detail. So nitpicking, if any of my consultants are listening in, you'll be seeing me on the deck and it's like everything needs to be moved until it's like perfect and we're kind of really producing the best work. But I also think working with some of those more luxury consumers, it was something where the standard was so high. There wasn't room for mistakes. There wasn't room for bad conversations. There was just too much on the line. So when we actually go and speak to our clients, we want to treat them like they're luxury consumers. We want to give them the best of the best. We want them to have high expectations that when they're coming into a meeting with us, they're going to leave with exactly what they wanted. Our clients are going to be really excited. We're going to be really professional. Things are going to be done efficiently, et cetera. So that's definitely some of the learning for that. And then kind of touching a little bit on a few other things that you had mentioned. The time at Wall Street Journal was one that was really exciting because I did work in UX, product design, so really focusing on the consumer. So especially when we build a lot of our solutions for small businesses, we're focusing on what is the consumer. Like, forget your assumptions, forget what's going on, what actually does the consumer want? It's not like, oh, I like the color blue. It's like, what does the data actually show us about this consumer and what they're feeling and what they're going to gravitate towards? So definitely through that, it was a lot of work with kind of better understanding user experience. How do you build really great digital platforms? And it's just been a really exciting time. I'm so thankful for a lot of the relationships that I built at a lot of those different companies. So many different people now serve on our board from so many different places. I have so many friends from my times at Bumble as director of New York City for a summer that are now working with us. It's kind of amazing. I always feel like I say, anyone who I've ever breathed with has kind of been like roped into this. So definitely really thankful for all those experiences.
Well, everything that you just mentioned seems amazing, first of all. And second of all, I wanted to touch upon some of the previous points that you just made, because I know that you did travel abroad. So I was wondering how your experience traveling helped you gain a deeper perspective with the business market across the world. I know you touched on it a little bit, but I'm just curious as to how you went more in depth with it.
I get really excited about talking about abroad, one, because I spoke a little briefly about really getting to know users, and users in different markets are really different. They have different cultural expectations, they have different behaviors, etc. So yes, it's always fun to kind of like hop on a plane and find something new or, you know, explore somewhere new. It's really exciting to kind of learn from the people around you. So I traveled abroad multiple times throughout my undergraduate education. And I think a huge thing was I lived in Israel for 2 months my freshman year, which was really exciting because Tel Aviv is like the startup capital, to be honest, of the world. So there are so many different things going on there. And also people really tell you they've started 3 or 4 businesses, even businesses that have failed. And it's just like, let's start more, let's take the risk, etc. So for me, I think even within going into Remen Company, there was this mindset of the worst thing happens, you start another one, you go back to the corporate world, etc. Give it a chance. And I think for a lot of people, it's really hard just to kind of say, let's get started. So definitely with that. The next, I think, experience that was really exciting was Berlin. I lived in Berlin for 2 months, and that was amazing just because it is such a center for design. So you're walking down the street, and I feel like my camera roll from Berlin is all kinds of different pictures of artwork, buildings, displays, etc. It was such an amazing time to be studying design in a city that is so design forward. There was constantly just amazing inspiration around me. So definitely an amazing experience through that, and just being in Europe and being able to travel and see so many different countries so close together was an amazing experience. And I think then one of the most eye-opening experiences was more living in Asia. So I lived in Hong Kong for almost 3 months. And that was something that was really, really, really exciting, just because you get to see the British influence of Hong Kong versus also there's a lot of pressure from actually China, etc. There's so many different kind of like cultural things going on and what's able to actually be said and marketed, etc. So it was really interesting, one, to kind of get to understand that Asia Pacific region, how that consumer interacts. So I definitely suggest for anyone who has the opportunity, I know that COVID has been really, really, really hard, to go out and have an experience, even if it's something where you're only there for a week, etc. Getting to actually just experience different countries.
I know that's definitely on my bucket list. It's something I want to do. I haven't been to Europe before, but that's the #1 place that I go to. So obviously you know that this podcast is all about female empowerment. So I was just wondering how you plan on empowering other women throughout the world or in your life with your company and your personal accomplishments.
Definitely. So I think for us, even in our intern program that we've been doing for the last few weeks and we'll be continuing throughout the summer, we really talk about a holistic approach to really building your career. So it's not just about the professional development. Yes, I'll teach you how to be a consultant, but we also want to teach people really how to be a good person, how to really rethink success. So for us, even being a part of a social impact initiative, it's we succeed when our community succeeds. It's not enough just for one person to get an unreal job. It's all of us to be able to be doing what we want to be doing and having a fulfilling life. It's about giving back, etc. So definitely, I think for me, one of the biggest things is being a good leader and showing up as myself. So a huge thing for me is really being authentic and being accessible. So being the person that people know me for my personality, what's going on, that they, for someone hopefully that they know they can like trust, etc. So constantly we're having different coffee chats. We're making sure that throughout the entire process, people know that there's someone who is on their team. So it's very funny. Normally I feel like I have like close friends where it's like, hey Cam, this, etc. Normally it's like Cameron, especially in like a professional setting, all of my interns, Cammy, what's going on? Like, it's just such a different vibe of, we need this now, we're getting excited about this, but it makes people so much more excited, and they actually get to know you for who you are. And I feel like that's a really exciting part of our culture, even though we really have such a professional front for all of our clients, et cetera. Our internal culture is so much come as you are. We want to know you exactly for the quirks, everything else. And I think just setting a good example through that is definitely really important. Also, even just empowering people, making sure that you admit when you're wrong, and are just someone who is really transparent. I think especially through skating and other things, it's so important to hold yourself accountable, have teammates that hold you accountable. So when you're having an off day, making sure you're the first person to be like, I did not get any sleep. This call is not going to be going well. X, Y, and Z, bear with me, let's just get through it. And people are so much more receptive, and they're so much more excited just because you've shown up, you've let them know actually what's going on in your personal life, et cetera, and they're able to actually show up and help you through a lot of different things. So long story short, making sure that we keep showing up as ourselves, we're empowering people just to kind of be comfortable, because a lot of times if people don't see other people being comfortable showing up, they're not going to be really that willing to show up themselves. So sometimes empowering is not, just shouting or getting people excited. It's kind of just leading by example.
Yeah, exactly. It's one thing to, work for somebody who you speak 2 words to in the entire day and just getting a list done. That's so tiring. But, getting to know someone on a personal level, like you said, makes the day so much more exciting and makes somebody look forward to going into the office 24/7. So that's what everybody just has to keep doing.
Exactly. And I feel like even for skating, like some of my fondest memories are not skating a 2-minute program. It's running through the airport to get to a competition, chanting on the bus, etc. It's so much more that camaraderie and the feeling of we're in this together, we're working to a common goal.
The bus rides were definitely one of the best memories of my childhood. So I was just wondering, which female figure in your life would you say has influenced you the most?
I think definitely my mom, just because she's constantly the one that is kind of pushing me. And also I think not only pushing me, just letting me know there's so much that's possible. Mm-hmm. She's the person where whenever we have a speaker or something that's going on at REM, she's like the first person on the Zoom call to be like, yes, etc. I'm like, just ignore that woman. She's on the call just to support me, etc. But I feel like she's just been a really, really amazing mentor for me, and also just an amazing role model. I think there's so many times, even for me as a leader, where I'm doing things where I don't want to be doing them, etc. And seeing someone like her who is like so brilliant, etc. And I'm like, spent time at the rink that she could be doing so many other things, put her career on hold for me and my sister to do so many other stuff. It's like, if she's able to do that, I can answer this email, I can be on this annoying call, I can kind of do anything. So definitely she's someone who is an amazing mentor to me. And I also think we have amazing women that are on our Remen Company board that individually have just had such a different impact on me as well, whether it's professionally. So many of my former bosses or teammates that now kind of come and support. I feel like oftentimes we talk about mentorship as something where it's people that are older than you, et cetera. But I feel like there's so many people that are beside me as we kind of build Remen Company together that are amazing mentors as well.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you. My mom is also my number one. She is the person who's commenting on this podcast right now. She's always the first one to like it, to share it. She's literally commented like 17 times, but she's just there for the support, and she loves you, so she's here for you as well.
So I love your mom.
She's just crazy, but everybody, the Team Image family out there, if you know this, Pat Cambria is one of a kind. And
yeah, she's the ultimate line mom.
Ultimate line mom. So I was wondering where you actually see yourself in 5 years from now. Like, what personal goals are you holding and currently pursuing?
I feel like it's almost crazy to say, just because even within the pandemic, it has been such a day-to-day. Yeah. To be honest, I think we talked a little bit just about global perspectives. I think the biggest thing that I kind of want to see for myself is really being able to integrate into some of the communities that we're talking about really helping. So whether it's over the course of the next year of being able to actually go into those different countries, learn from them, etc. I definitely want to be someone who is traveling around and not just saying, oh, we want to fix this country, but actually going and figuring out, from a first person perspective, what's happening on the ground, how can we actually support, etc. So I think in the next few years, hopefully being able to have more of a global impact is definitely something I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. So I was also wondering what piece of advice you would give to new business owners who are just getting their foot in the door.
I think the advice that I would kind of give them is definitely it all goes down to the team. So making sure you're really surrounded by people that support you and can cheer you on and also hold you accountable. I know so many times like the founder journey or other things can be really lonely, even if you're surrounded by hundreds of people in my case. So being someone that one can really outline what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are the things that you really need help with and not being afraid to ask for them, I think is something that I would definitely tell emerging small business owners or founders out there, just because I was even on a call earlier today with a few of my teammates and they're like, we know you're the last person on this planet to ask for help. Your house will be on fire before you're calling anyone to ask for help. And they're like, we know the best way to talk to you. They're like, we see an issue. We're going to say, hey, we know this is what's going on. Here's the way we actually want to help. Let us help. Let us take this off your plate. You don't need to be doing this. Trust us with that. So being able to actually have those people that are one going to call you out and say, like, wait, you are amazing leader, but you're terrible at delegating, and then you're going to get overwhelmed, and we need to fix this now, and here's the way to do it. So making sure you're surrounded by people that really know you and are also going to be really there for your business. Oftentimes when you're hiring people, etc., it's, oh, they're interested in being there for a year, or they're interested in being there for a few months, and no matter how long, they're there, you want the person that's like so dedicated to your business. There's no question about, how passionate they are, etc.
Yeah, and that was a great piece of advice for anybody out there who's just getting their foot in the door with any type of business. You should definitely listen to what Cameron just said, because she's very successful and she is very good at advice.
Thank you, Gianna.
No problem. So I have one last question for you. I asked this to everybody that is on my show. As you know, it's called Play Like a Girl. So I was just wondering what you think Play Like a Girl means and why it's so important that younger generations understand the true definition of it.
I feel like Play Like a Girl means give it your all. Go until you have nothing left. I think like it's all just about leaving nothing on the field, for lack of terrible analogies, but there is something about being a woman and knowing, how much you're actually capable of and reminding yourself of that every day. Mm-hmm. So no matter if it's on the field, off the field, in a business setting, etc., being able to know that you're here for a reason. There are so many people that are here supporting you, cheering you on, people that you don't even know yet that will be cheering you on. Mm-hmm. I think it's really important to kind of just know that perspective of you have so much to give, and especially if you're young, you're only getting started.
Yeah, for sure. I loved that answer, Cameron. It was great. Well, I loved speaking with you. I had such an amazing time catching up, and I loved hearing about your company. I'm definitely going to do more information and dive into it, because I would love to learn even more about what you've told me.
Thank you so much, Gianna, and just thank you for having me on this call.
No problem. Anytime you are interested, just reach out to me. Again, like, honestly, I love speaking with you.
Mondays at 8 p.m.
Mondays at 8. Pop in every time.
Thank you so much. And thank you for all of you that listened to my story.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope you have a great night, Cameron.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye. Okay, guys. Well, that was Cameron. I absolutely loved speaking with her. You can definitely look her up to check out her story and her company. She is so inspiring and empowering as a woman, and she was the perfect guest for this podcast. As you guys know, this is Play Like a Girl for the girls. I'm your host, Gianna Cambria, and I'll see you next week. Bye.
Pharmaceutical company Prevacus says their new concussion medication Prevacol helps repair nerves and promote cell growth.
We can get the drug in the brain in less than 5 minutes. And our plan is when we get that diagnosis on the field of play, give the drug nasally, get it in the brain quickly. When it gets in the brain, it actually gets into the nucleus of your brain cells, and it reduces swelling, inflammation, and oxidative stress at the same time.
When Jake and I first talked about this many years ago, one of my first questions was, will this help me? And he goes, no, this is for treatment immediately when a concussion or you think a concussion has occurred.
Yeah.
The acute problems that exist later on in life, if we can take care of these at an early age and start getting some of these things to our children and grandchildren, and I think we can make this game, our game, football, a safer place.
And so the whole goal is we're trying to make the game safer. And so Odyssey and this drug, we believe, can be a game changer in so many different ways. Yes, on the football field, in the game of football, because that's where my passion lies, but also in the game of life.